everyone, and welcome to Memory Matters for All Ages. I'm Janelle Nichols, representing the Gables of Hudson Assisted Living Residents. Well, how are those resolutions going? Last week we talked about a 7-day memory fitness plan with our guest, Catherine Kilpatrick. If you've been a regular watcher of the program, you know Catherine is a speech-language pathologist with over 40 years experience, a noted author of over 30 publications, a national speaker, and she has put us on the path to memory fitness, and day 3 was lifestyle choices, and that's what we're going to talk about today, right, Kathy?
You're right.
Okay.
Do you ever feel guilty when I talk about some of these things and you talk? It's like, I need to go and do this when I get home.
I keep my pen so I can make notes, so I can put them into practice
I'm laughing.
after the program.
It's like,
yes.
okay, and it's so important to do these things, because when I go into the homes of many older adults, or work with people privately for consultations on how to kind of boost their memory capabilities, very often the things that we're talking about today are lifestyle choices. We get so busy that we don't give them the full attention that they need to be.
So if I understand you correctly, not sleeping enough, not eating properly, not exercising can actually affect our memory?
Absolutely.
Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely.
Well, if that's the case, would you start with what I struggle with the most, and that is sleep?
And some people may have a disorder such as sleep apnea, where they have some difficulty breathing when they're sleeping and need to have a special device to help them during the evening. But a lot of us have really lousy habits. And it's interesting, if you want your brain to be alert, if you want to be able to focus, if you want to be able to pay attention, if you want to have a good attitude, you really need to get a good night's sleep. And they're always doing stories on TV about, you should get 8 hours sleep, and 7.5 is good, but 5 is this, and so forth. Well, last night I had a little less than 6, and I could feel it when the alarm went off. Normally I wake up before it, and I went, oh my goodness, it's time to get up now. And things that we can do that might be helpful are, to pay attention to the habits that we have, because it takes away from the quality, of our life. When I was real sick in my late 30s, I was only sleeping 3 or 4 hours a night, and so what ends up happening is I was just going on automatic pilot. It was exhaustion.
I don't know how you got through your days. Nothing is worse than trying to muddle through a day where you are so foggy because of exhaustion that you can't even think. You make mistakes. It's also dangerous.
Absolutely.
So sleep is just so important.
I mean, have you ever nodded off for a second when you've been behind the wheel of a car?
I'm afraid I have found myself getting very heavy eyes. And it's scary. It's very scary.
And so if that's happening, then what's happening in the other situations in our day-to-day life where we're missing something?
Absolutely.
So that's definitely an issue there. Okay.
And then nutrition. Again, the #1 resolution for everyone universally is, most of it is we're going to lose weight, but it really should be, I'm going to try to eat right. I'm going to try to eat with better nutrition, healthier snacks. Talk about how nutrition can be a factor in memory.
What did you have for breakfast today? What have you been snacking on? What are you planning to have this evening? So very often we skip breakfast, or breakfast is coffee and something sugary, and we've got to put good fuel into our body in order for our brain to work. Bad gas in the car over a period of time, not taking care of it, you're going to run into problems. Our body is a well-oiled machine, and we really need to take better care of it. And so when I'm working with people that have mild memory difficulties, perhaps mild cognitive impairment, and there's some anxiety about their memory, or someone with early stage or early onset Alzheimer's disease, I give them strategies and all, but then I start looking at the sleeping patterns. I start looking at how well they are eating, because we need to, keep our blood sugar levels on an even keel. I've had people say, oh, my blood sugar is starting to drop, and we're not talking about someone, that may be diabetic and having to worry about those issues. Just but just the average person. And you'll often hear people, oh, you know what, I was so busy today that, I really haven't had anything to eat. Maybe I, grabbed a cup of coffee, and then these energy drinks. Excuse me, if you're taking the energy drinks, then there's something you really need to be looking at in terms of how your body's operating and the nutrition. Dieters often have more trouble staying awake and staying focused in the afternoon. So we really need to pay attention to it. It's a very important kind of thing. So
well, it's an old comparison, kind of silly, but if you put bad gas in the car, the car's not going to run right. And that's something in this busy life we don't. Yeah. We don't eat right. Breakfast, supposedly the most important meal of the day. I'm terrible at that. Yeah, so nutrition. Yeah, nutrition.
And we'll give a few tips with that. But the other thing we have to remember is hydration. And if we're not drinking enough water, we see it so much in older adults.
Oh, absolutely.
Because if they're not drinking enough, and there's, they don't want to have to go to the bathroom too often, or maybe it's hard for them to get up, they don't like the taste of water, all of those types of things. So we really, really need to pay attention to how much we're drinking each day. And caffeinated beverages take away from your intake. It's dehydrating you. So like one lady said, well, I drink 2 pots of coffee a day. And I said, caffeine or decaffeinated? And she said, well, caffeine, so I'm getting all that water. And I said, no. I just had a woman that I saw recently who was borderline dehydrated, and she would drink tea with each meal, and I suggested she switch to decaf and that she try and drink a glass of water as well. So those things are really important for a lot of reasons.
Sure, absolutely. Something else that's very important is exercise. And we're not talking about a full-fledged gym, private trainer. We're talking about just stepping it up a little bit, taking some extra steps. Talk a little bit about how important exercise is to memory.
All the research, folks, talks about the fact that what's good for your heart, is good for your brain. Exercise is on the top of the list of almost everything that you read for successful aging. And, some people can be, do the marathons and do all of that. As time goes on, if you have more difficulty, it's still important because, your brain is only like 2%. Needs about your body weight, but it needs like 20 to 25% of the oxygen. So when you're starting to feel like this, do you need to hydrate, and do you need to walk around and get some oxygen to your brain? And it's interesting because in many of the assisted living and independent living facilities, they will have exercise groups, and some people don't feel they can participate in them as much. But there are programs. I remember giving my mom a series of CDs years ago where you actually had exercising in a chair.
Sure.
And so, there's many ways to do it. You've got to get into your mind that it's an important thing to do.
Well, Silver Sneakers is such a wonderful exercise program for seniors also. So, and that's very readily available in every community. So, some other tips besides these three.
Okay, I want to make sure I don't miss these. First of all, alcohol intake in excess and smoking are habits that, really don't contribute to good health, never mind brain health. But we need to make sure that we're just looking at the overall style of the things that we're doing every day and what we put in. So we talk about balance and stress. So lifestyle choices, if you run, go all the time and you don't take some time to relax, then you're building up that stress level. And so I often say to people, if you're feeling pretty good, notice kind of in your gut what color you like. So I like ocean blue, and so I wake up in the morning and I'm feeling pretty good, and then later on in the day I've got this icky green color that I don't like, and it's like, okay, did something just happen to upset or agitate me, or was it something that went on before? So, it's like the pressure cooker concept. Do you want to kind of notice when you start to get off track and take care of yourself for a few minutes? So those kinds of things are really important.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'd like to speak for just a moment on the Memory Fitness, the 7-day plan. If those of you that are trying this, if you were listening to last week or you've been on the website, Kathy's website, don't get discouraged. There's going to be ups and downs. It's like
Absolutely.
in anything that you do, something is new. But I think that as you continue to try, without really knowing, you're forming habits. For example, you've talked in the past about negative thoughts and negative words. You'll catch yourself using that.
Right.
You'll catch yourself. Maybe I should walk to the store. It's not that far. Let me get a couple extra steps in. Maybe I should take the steps instead of the elevator.
Right.
These things will begin to gel within your lifestyle without you even realizing.
Right.
So don't get discouraged if you think, well, I can't do this each day. I lose track. I can't do it. It's helping you more than you realize.
It's just the baby steps, and
Right.
you take a little bit at a time. So I'm going to give us a couple of tips here about what we might do. Okay, you asked about sleeping. Okay, first of all, we need to get into a relaxation routine before we go to bed. So, maybe not taking the phone call that is either going to get your mind twirling or get you upset, or just kind of take that balance away can be an important thing. Some people like to read, some people like to listen to music. I know that I will sit there for about 20 minutes and just do free cell on the computer because it just kind of lulls me. I don't care if I win, but that's kind of my little meditative activity, because if I read something, it's going to get my brain going. But pay attention to what you watch right before you go to bed, because if you're turning on the show that's got you, into, a lot of violence or activity, that may not be the best choice before you go to bed. I think I had mentioned before on the show that I had this couple that they would, watch the evening news, which is not always very positive. Like I was saying, unless your sports team is winning, and that's the last part of the program. And so they would then tape something that made them laugh, and they would watch that before they went to bed. Another thing is the light in your room when you're sleeping. So very often people will have the TV on while they're I've had some folks who will keep the TV on all night, and that light is going to disturb the sleep cycle there. So that's not a good thing. So we need to get into that ritual. And on the blog will be a link to some absolutely outstanding definite information about different things to look at and kind of to assess your pattern on a website that I found.
Right. I do want to point out, stay tuned at the end of the program. Please look at the end there where you can see Kathy's website, information on how to get to her blog, where she writes about what we're talking about each week. Also, I'm going to give you a little plug here. She has some wonderful products. Like I said at the beginning of the show, she is the author of over 30 publications. She has some wonderful products, and one of my favorite is Walking the Path to Memory Fitness One Day at a Time. If you really want to get 2014 off to a good start, you might want to look at that. That's the first book you gave me when I first met you, and I was sold from there on out. That's just an excellent
It was
resource.
Actually created because of people say, well, what do I do? So again, it's giving a tidbit at a time. So whether you're doing the 7-day plan or the daily plan, either one of those is good. But thanks. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, Kathy, in our last minute, would you send us off? You always have a quote. Tell us what to do this week. Give us something to go with.
Okay, we've got, don't forget about the nutrition part, okay, and the water. Okay, I want to make sure that we do that. And then for those with exercising, a falls and balance assessment is a really good idea, because what'll put you into a nursing home the soonest is a fall. So we need to make sure that we do that. So pick one area to concentrate on this week. Maybe just relax, take a little walk, a few extra steps like you said. And I love this quote. It's by Dr. Wayne Scott Anderson. Optimal health is a journey taken one step, one habit, and one day at a time.
Thank you so much, Kathy. Now, go and make it a great day.